Wow, my hair is just a whole mess today, isn't it? That cannot look good for my reputation here, huh? Alright, and as of commenter request, today for our first long form video, we're going to talk about a topic that I can't squeeze into a, short. That is feathered versus non-feathered dinosaurs. So for this topic, we'll go over, a couple of the groups that evolved feathers, why they may have done so, how we know they did so, a couple of the groups who definitely didn't have feathers, and we'll also go over that, iffy portion. There's animals that we're not quite sure about, like some tyrannosaurids, which I believe I mentioned in a blog post recently. But we'll get to that in a second. First things first, let's talk about Maniraptora. Maniraptora is one of the most diverse groups in all of paleontology. I mean, just look at this family tree. It contains things from Therizinosaurus being a large herbivore to Velociraptor, a small carnivore. But what is the one thing all these groups have in common? Feathers. A bunch of these groups evolved feathers separately. Even birds evolved within this group, which are known for feathers. Now, you may be wondering, how do we know that they had feathers? Well, I present to you the imprint fossil of Archaeopteryx, a transitional species between dinosaurs and birds. This animal had the imprints of where feathers used to be surrounding its actual skeleton. Now, this isn't the only bit of fossil evidence, of course. This arm bone from Velociraptor has notches where quills for the feathers, like the filament for the feathers, would have extended from. Of course, Velociraptor also wasn't the only animal which we found these in. Concavenator, one of my personal favorite dinosaurs, is famous for it because it's the only in its group, Conchorodontosaurids, to have evolved any type of quill-like feathers. Now, why do animals like these dinosaurs evolve feathers? What was the evolutionary pressure for it? Well, first things first, it's the obvious answer. Display structures. It's a tale as old as time in evolution. Something evolves something to look bigger, scarier, look more appealing to mates. Another amazing example of this is claws or teeth or tusks. It's a theory that this claw from Therizinosaurus, it had 3 of these, worked as a display structure to ward off predators. It's entirely possible, like in peacocks, that many Maniraptoran species and other feathered dinosaurs were using them in much the same way. Another amazing example is for warmth, which our next example will get into very well. Like some Arctic birds, Eutyrannus used a thick coat of quill-like feathers to insulate itself. In a cold forest habitat, as a reptile, it was incredibly susceptible to the cold weather, which could have killed it had it not had the feathers necessary to insulate itself from snow or rain. Our first example is the greatest example of our final reason to evolve feathers. That is, for flight. Archaeopteryx would use flight to avoid predators or catch prey. This opened the gateway for flying avian animals later on in Earth's history. So what about the dinosaurs that didn't have feathers? Well, we know that there were some, and we know that for a couple of reasons. One, we actually have skin imprints from multiple animals, like ankylosaurids, which we know had large plated armor. Another thing is just assumption. There are animals that would have had no purpose for evolving feathers and had no ancestors that had evolved them. Therefore, they wouldn't have evolved feathers. Things like Spinosaurids, Suchomimus, and Irritator would have had no purpose in their mostly water-based habitat to have evolved any type of feathers, as that it would have impeded upon their ability to swim, unless they evolved feathers like a penguin, but that adaptation didn't come for another 25 million years. So we know there are animals that had no reason to evolve them and that didn't. So what did they evolve to solve these problems instead? Well, of course, the largest of the groups would have had no problem with body heat. Sauropods would have generated so much heat just by moving that they never would have needed to evolve feathers, because their internal body temperature would have been enough to sustain them even in snow or rain. And of course, pterosaurs, which did diverge from dinosaurs fairly early, had membranous wings, meaning they didn't need feathers for flight. And they were quite successful, especially in the Cretaceous when feathers were first being evolved, showing that groups could achieve flight without having to evolve feathers at all. And theropod dinosaurs had display structures down way before feathers. I mean, look at the horned crest on Alloremus, or better yet, the horned brow of Carnotaurus. That would have been incredibly intimidating. Or even better than that, the dual-peaked head structure on top of Dilophosaurus. Feathers overall were an incredibly important evolution for dinosaurs. It opened the floodgate into feathered evolution, which I would love to talk about in another video, but we're just going to talk about dinosaurs for right now. It's an incredibly important adaptation that opened up new ways of doing things that dinosaurs have been doing forever. I mean, body heat wasn't an issue before feathers, but for theropods, especially of the size of Eutyrannus or Velociraptor, that was a major contributor that stopped them from holding niches in different habitats. Flight was something only pterosaurs had done up till then, and then feathered flight came along. This created so many more niches and environmental opportunities for groups that just hadn't gotten to fill those roles yet. So feathers were extremely important to dinosaur evolution, but it is good to keep in mind, feathers or not, these animals are absolutely magnificent, and I cannot wait to get to have more conversations about this with you guys. So just let me know any more topics you want me to cover, long form or short form. I will take as much time as I need to cover in depth any topic you ask for. Remember, like, subscribe, notification bell, and please, 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 even if you aren't going to leave a recommendation, just leave a comment. It makes my day. Thank you all very much. Have a lovely evening.